Welcome friends to my first ever guitar collection video. This video was actually requested a couple of times through the kind donations on the Buy Me a Coffee page, so thank you so much to anyone who's donated so far via my Buy Me a Coffee page, but particularly to those of you who have requested I do a sort of state of my collection video, which is exactly what this is going to be. We're going to go from oldest to newest, and I'm going to play something, or try to, on each of these guitars and tell you how I came to own them, where they sit in my collection, and I'm also going to discuss what my personal favourites and maybe least favourites are too. And it starts with this. This is an Ibanez AE245 NT acoustic. It's an electroacoustic. It's kind of a semi-affordable model that Ibanez produces. I think it's about 380 quid or something, or it was at the time I bought it. Anyway, this is a really nice, affordable electroacoustic, and this was kind of my gateway drug into playing guitar again. I just kind of got hold of this thing and started doing basic strumming patterns, all that type of thing. I didn't go full balls deep into chugging metal riffs straight away. For an affordable electroacoustic, it really doesn't sound that bad, either plugged in or acoustically. Next up is my Legator Ninja 6-string. This is an amethyst finish X Series 6-string from Legator. It's a late 2020 serial number guitar. For those of you who don't know, I play mostly 7-string, and I play in a version of drop A with the top 3 strings being G flat, B, B, low to high. For 6-string stuff, I play drop D flat, so it's drop D, just down a semitone basically, and this is the guitar that I keep in that tuning. I have had this guitar a while, and I have done a hell of a lot with it in terms of videos, playing, recording, all that sort of thing. It is just the most ridiculously comfortable and nice to play guitar. I had it professionally set up for this tuning when I first got it. I've also modified this guitar from its stock specifications, so it came originally with a set of Fishman Fluence Moderns, and as you can see, I've replaced those with a set of EMG 57 and 66 pickups. The reason for this is that at the time I got this guitar, I only had Fishman equipped guitars, and I just wanted something different. With my guitar collection, I try to own each guitar because it gives me something slightly different, even if that's just a mildly different sound that even only I can appreciate. I really do believe that variety is the spice of life, and guitars and music is no different. Next up, we have my first full-bore 7-string guitar. I did dip my toe into 7-string with an affordable Jackson before I went the whole hog and bought a kind of top-of-the-range one from Solar. Absolutely fell in love with 7-string guitars straight away, mostly because I just went straight into using alternate tunings, and it just kind of opened up this whole extra world of creativity and sounds that I just had never got before from a normal 6-string guitar. So this is a Solar A 1.7 in trans blood red finish, heavily modified. This thing is my absolute go-to recording weapon, mostly because of the Evertune bridge. Now, I've done a few different videos on the Evertune bridge on the channel. It's not without its downsides. There's no such thing as a free lunch in this world. But for recording, my God, this thing just saves you so much time and hassle with tuning between takes. I bought this guitar as a B-stock at a slight discount direct from the Solar website, so it does have a few little cosmetic issues here and there, but it plays amazingly well. One thing Solar do really, really well is ergonomics. playability, neck profiles, they absolutely just nail that side of it. The neck is the perfect thickness and shape for a 7-string in my opinion. 26.5-inch scale length, so not crazy long, to be honest. I prefer 27-inch, but certainly long enough whilst retaining a good degree of playability and string tension. Now, modifications wise, as you can see, I have removed the tone pot. I really don't know why it came with one in the first place, because this is just the ultimate metal focused kind of head crushing 7-string guitar. Anyhow, that's gone. It's been replaced with a red Tessie LED kill switch. This is something that comes standard on the kind of top line of Legator guitars, and I really like these kill switches. They are so fun to use, they respond really quickly, and you can do really high precision kill switch playing with these things. Plus the fact they just look really cool as well. Pickups wise, I have replaced the stock Duncan Solar pickups with a set of Seymour Duncan Retribution active pickups. These are the signature pickup from Dino, from Fear Factory. I've got a whole video dedicated to just how incredibly good these pickups are and how underrated they are. So check that out on the channel to find out some more about these pickups. This thing, it has some dents, some damage, some bashes. It's just a proper like workhorse guitar, this thing, and 9 times out of 10, if I'm recording something on a 7-string, I will just go to this because I know it will sound great, and that Evertune bridge will just save me so much faffing about. Next up, we have my 6-string BC Rich Shred Zilla. This was a completely unnecessary purchase because at the time I bought this, which was late 2022, mid 2022 maybe, I was just really focused on 7-string guitar and getting better and getting used to playing on that thicker neck. So at the time I bought this, I had absolutely no need for another 6-string guitar, but this thing became available on Thoman's website. I'd had my eye on these for a while and I just thought, God, what an awesome looking thing these are. So over the top, in your face, typical, just classic BC Rich who just do stage guitars, don't they? Stuff that is just like, wow, what is that? No room for subtlety on this thing. It is bright blue with a really deep burl top and a burst finish on the top. It has the classic BC Rich abalone binding, which is like Marmite, you either love it or you hate it. I personally love it. I think it's a classic 80s kind of touch. And the abalone goes all the way up the neck, all the way around the body. So, you know, if you're not into abalone, this really isn't the guitar for you. So specs wise, this is proper, no messing about. 2 humbuckers, a single volume pot and a toggle switch. It does have the addition of a momentary kill switch with a kind of plastic dome on it. It ain't the greatest kill switch, I'll be honest with you. I did a full review of this guitar when I got it, and the kill switch was probably one of the weakest points about it. It just has far too much travel, it's not responsive enough, and you just don't really tend to use it. It really does need to be a Tessie one, really, and maybe I'll look into modifying it and replacing it with a Tessie kill switch. It really is quite a thick body on this guitar, but it's actually quite light, especially considering it's a neck through. They've just struck such a good balance and playability. There's no neck dive on this thing. It's just so damn comfortable. Now, unfortunately, this is the guitar that gets played least in my collection. This thing really is more of like just a beautiful thing to have around. The problem I have is I mostly play alternate tunings, as I've said, and this is my one 6-string electric that I keep in standard. So through no fault of this guitar's own, it just doesn't get played that much because I just don't play in standard tuning that much. But sometimes a need will arise in a video for me to play in standard tuning, or, you know, I will want to learn a particular song maybe, and it will be in standard. So I have to keep one 6-string in standard. Unfortunately, this guitar is it. Maybe at some point I will rotate it around and put it in drop C sharp, which is my preferred 6-string tuning, just so it gets a bit more of a look in. but I don't often do that just because you have to change string gauges, re-intonate the thing. It is a lot of faffing about. Next up, we have my first ever Legator 7-string. This is a Legator Ninja 7 X series, top of the line. The finish on this guitar, I will say now, is my favorite paint finish I have ever seen on any guitar ever. And I actually spent about a year trying to hunt one of these down because I became aware of this finish just by going through the range on Legator's website, and by the time I found out about it, they'd only done this finish for about 18 months and every single one of them had sold out. So I set up alerts on Reverb and eBay, and I scoured like the Legator user group on Facebook, and probably just went over the top with trying to find one of these Ninja 7 strings in this ruby finish. I even found somebody in the States with one for sale, and I persuaded them to ship it to me even though they weren't offering international shipping. That deal fell through. There was some fishy business about they wanted me to pay $1,000 for shipping or something utterly stupid like that, and I told them to get lost. One fine day, this thing just popped up in Legator's Reverb shop. I think it had been like a demo model because it was brand new, but it was being sold at a very slight discount just because it had been played. So I absolutely just snapped their hand off, couldn't get this thing in quick enough, and I was like, oh my God, this is just like everything I thought it would be. I absolutely love this finish. I didn't love the way this thing sounded, however, and this is a valuable lesson in, if you can, try and play a guitar before you buy it. I know that's a difficult thing to do these days with guitar sales and everything moving online. For some reason when I got this guitar, it just sounded quite dull, quite muddy and just quite flat. You know, I know it's a neck through, which is never going to be as snappy as a bolt-on. I just couldn't really put my hand on why. Everything seemed good to go, so I decided to swap the pickups out. They have Fishman Fluence Moderns in, which are like the most insanely bright pickups, so it just made no sense that this thing sounded as dull as it did. Swapped the pickups out, got a professional setup done by Phil at Bristol Guitar Tech. He did some modifications with the string gauge and everything, filed the nuts slightly just to accommodate my preferred tuning, which is A, E, A, D, G flat, B, B, so 2 Bs on the top. When I got this thing back, I was like, Christ, this is just everything I wanted it to sound like now. The pickups I had installed were another set of Seymour Duncan Retributions, just like I had put in my Solar A1.7. And now this guitar is, I would say, perfectly balanced sounding. Something about those pickups, having it set up, the strings we went for, I don't know what it is, but we just completely rid this guitar of all that dull muddiness it had. And now it's not the brightest sounding thing by any means, but it's just so clear and just nice and neutral sounding. It's just a really nicely rounded guitar. It's also worth noting that this was my first multi-scale guitar. This is a multi-scale 7-string. It stretches from 25.5-inch scale on the top all the way to a 27-inch scale on the bottom. So this is effectively a baritone guitar on the bass strings, but a standard 25.5-inch scale guitar on the treble strings. Now you might think that might be a playability nightmare. Personally, I really like 7-string multi-scale. The added string tension on the bottom end just sounds nasty and really thick, and combined with that paint finish, look, if you had a gun to my head and I had to pick a favorite out of my collection, I would pick this guitar. Next up we have, what's this? Another 7-string Legator Ninja. This is, on paper, almost the exact same guitar as the Ninja Ruby that I just told you about. So you may be asking yourself, James, why the hell did you buy the exact same guitar again only about 2 or 3 months later? And I would tell you, my creativity in finding reasons to buy more guitars is simply endless. So what I can tell you is that the difference in this guitar that justified me buying it is found by looking at the back of it. Now, whereas the Ninja Ruby that I've got is a neck through design with like I think it's a 5/6 piece neck, you will see this is a bolt-on. And this is not just any bolt-on, this is a roasted maple neck bolt-on. So in terms of if you just want the most brightest, snappiest sounding guitar possible, always go for a bolt-on with a roasted maple neck. Something about just the extra level of moisture that's removed by roasting a roasted maple neck. My God, this thing is so bright and kind of unforgiving sounding, but I have to tell you that this thing is probably the best sounding guitar I own just out of the box and acoustically. It's incredibly loud, it's incredibly bright. You really almost don't need an amp to just practice clean stuff on this thing. But let me tell you, plugged in, this thing sounds totally different to the neck through Ruby that I've got next to me here, honest. It has a set of Fishman Fluence Modern pickups in it, which as we know are just brutally bright anyway. If your mission is to cut through a mix, this is your baby right here, I'm telling you. If you want to record some gnarly, proper genty, like mid-range honky type stuff, this guitar does an incredibly good job of that. The only modification I have done to this guitar is I had my local guitar tech add a white Tessie LED kill switch that you can just see there. This is, to be honest, just to bring it in line with the Ruby 7-string I've got. This is Legator's N series, which is I think one down from the X series, which my Ruby one is. So it's not quite top of the range, but almost. It just bothered me that it didn't have a matching kill switch, so I had one installed. Kind of silly really, but it looks cool and it works just as well as all the other Tessie kill switches I've got. So, can we also just acknowledge how cool white soap bar active pickups look? Somebody else mentioned this in the comments, but there's just something so cool about just a big slab of white plastic pickup on a guitar. I don't know, I think it looks really metal. The paint finish overall on this guitar is called Arctic Burst, so it's like a white fading into a black. This is a transparent finish, you can't see it that well on camera, but there is visible burls in the wood through the paint on the black bit. It's really, really cool up close. And finally, this brings us to our newest addition, which almost continues the theme of me just buying the same guitar over and over again, but not quite. This may well be yet another Legator 7-string, 27-inch scale on the bottom, 25.5-inch scale on the top, with another pair of white Fishman Fluence pickups in it. But I have to say, this is clearly a guitar that's needed almost like a household appliance. I would put this up with the washing machine, the fridge, and the bathtub as being a necessity. And and that is a headless guitar. I did an entire video on why I decided that I just had to have a headless guitar. I couldn't possibly continue in life without one. Basically, this is my living room sofa guitar. So this is the thing I sit on the living room sofa with and noodle with. So this is the newest addition to my collection. I've only had this a couple of months. This is a special guitar because there is only 100 of these in the world anywhere. This is a Legator 10th anniversary edition guitar, denoted by the X on the fretboard here. And they made 100 6s, 100 7s, and 108 strings of the headless model. So if you own one, you're incredibly lucky. This thing was just a total impulse buy, to be quite honest with you. I had reviewed a 6-string headless Legator, courtesy of the good folks at Live Louder. After giving it back, I was like, oh man, that was just awesome. Like, I really would quite like a nice headless just for the living room. And Live Louder unfortunately brought even more temptation into my life, and they said, well, it's funny you say that, we've got this. And I was like, man, you've got one of those, really? Like, I thought they'd all sold out. So clearly I had to have it. Clearly I absolutely did not need this thing, but let me tell you, I did a full review on why a headless guitar can be a really cool addition to your collection. I would encourage you to check it out. This thing is an absolute just clean tone machine. It's so unbelievably bright and snappy. The Fishman Fluence modern pickups. I use the coil split option on the neck quite a lot for really nice, just crisp kind of ambient clean tones. And this thing just does such a good job of that. It's so ridiculously light. It's a bolt-on with a roasted curly maple neck with visible stripes in the wood grain. Incredible looking thing. It's almost got like a 3D effect to the neck when you look at it from behind. I am still very much currently in sort of the honeymoon period with this guitar at the time of doing this video. You know, it's like all new and exciting, so I'm tending to play this thing most days over anything else in my collection. So that is my 2024 guitar collection update video. We have just tipped over the 10,000 subscriber mark at the time of shooting this video. Thank you so much to everybody who has supported the channel since day one. I am so grateful and so pleased we've crossed that 10,000 mark. I am imminently about to record my 10,000 subscriber Q&A video. If you do have any questions for me, get them in the video comments of this below quickly and I will add them into the list. Thank you so much to those of you who responded to the community post and asked questions there already. Until the next chilled review or video, do take care of yourselves and we'll see you soon.